عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص قال بينما نحن حول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نكتب إذ سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أي المدينتين تفتح أول قسطنطينية أو رومية فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مدينة هرقل تفتح أول يعني قسطنطينية.
After 800 years of efforts to conquer the city of Constantinople, 250,000 Al-Fateh troops headed to the battlefield. Sultan Muhammad Al-Fateh led his army before heading to the battlefield. On May 29, 1453, was the culmination of the struggle of Muslims who continued to strive for hundreds of years to realize the message of the Prophet. And that liberation became one of the pillars of the history of the greatness of Islam. Sultan Muhammad did it in a smarter way. He brought 70 of his ships across Galata to the estuary after oiling the locks. It is done in a very short time, less than one night. In the morning, the Byzantines were shocked in a ridiculous way. They did not think Sultan Muhammad and his army had crossed their ship by land. The 70 ships that crossed the land that were still overgrown with trees, cut down trees and crossed ships in one night were impossible to them, but that is what happened. A terrible war broke out. The untouched fortress, as a symbol of Byzantine power, was finally attacked by people who were not afraid to die. Finally, the 11th century Greek Empire fell into the hands of Muslims. Upon entering Constantinople, Sultan Muhammad Al-Fateh got off his horse and prostrated as a sign of gratitude to Allah. After that, he went to Hagia Sophia Church and ordered to replace with a mosque. Constantinople was made the capital, the center of government of the Ottoman Empire. His success in conquering Constantinople caused many friends and opponents to marvel at his leadership as well as his war tactics and strategies, which were said to precede his time as well as the methods to selecting his troops. It was also he who changed the name of Constantinople to Istanbul, which means Islam as a whole. Now, the name has been changed by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk to Istanbul.
In the 21st century, Istanbul is famous for its city full of historical buildings.
Now, you know that Istanbul was once called Constantinople. Turkey changed from Constantinople to Istanbul in 1930. Bul Turkey is a bridge between the east and the west. Literally, part of the city is located in Europe and the other part is in Asia. You can see the narrow separation of water. Here, the ship goes back and forth like a subway on water. It became the capital of the Roman Empire when Emperor Constantine moved the capital here from Rome. The city was renamed Constantinople. Romans loved to build big, beautiful buildings. Historical stuff is in this part of the town. Modern part of the town is located across the bridge. Places like Taksim Square have lots of shopping and restaurant. It's a bustling modern city. That was the last stronghold of the Roman Empire, a huge fortified city with thick stone walls. As the Roman Empire shrunk and lost territory, a stronger empire emerged, which is the Ottoman Empire, and slowly surrounded Constantinople. This is the statistic of Islamic religion in Turkey that kept increasing from the year 2000 until 2020.
The culture in Turkey will definitely give us a different sense of a culture that exists in our country. The Turkish cuisine is one of the most appetizing and rich cuisines of the world. Turkish people are known to be quite passionate about food. One element that every visitor to Turkey will talk extensively about is the amazing food, and Turkish people sure know how to cook. Whether it's a homemade meal or an upscale tasting menu, Turkish people have a true talent for whipping up amazing dishes. Istanbul, however, is the city where almost all kinds of cuisines can be tasted due to its multicultural structure of a metropolis. The key ingredients being primarily meat, vegetables, and legumes. Turkish meals are generally soupy, consisting of some kind of stew. Even though Turkey is quite a modern country, there are many traditions and cultural elements that have survived through the ages. From folk dance and music to literature and art, Turkey's past is preserved through the celebrations of its past. Even though traditions are very important in Turkey, Turkish people also know how to let loose and have a good time. Just go to any Turkish wedding to watch even the oldest grandma get up to dance, or visit a tavern to see Turkish people singing their favorite songs alongside street musicians.
There are many positive values that are applied in the society in Turkey. Among them is in terms of socialization. The community here is very friendly, although the way they socialize is quite rude. The way they socialize is quite rude because they have hero blood. The Turkish men here are required to enter a military training for 2 years. But recently, the Turkish government has changed the military training period to 6 months. Due to this, the way they interact is quite rude. However, they are actually quite friendly and hospitable. For example, they always say hello when meeting people from their community or outsiders. They will say hello, asking about our situation and others. Apart from that, the second positive value is that the community here is very obedient to the command of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The community here is very concerned about the value of Islam itself and always take care of the importance of Islam. One example that we can say for ourselves is that the mosques in Turkey are still open even though the COVID virus has spread there. The second example we can see in Turkish president himself is Recep Tayyip Erdogan. When Palestine was attacked by Israel and Baitul Maqdis was about to end and seized by Israel, he was the earliest leader to speak out and oppose the matter. The matter affects all Turks that Islam is very important and should be preserved.
Sayukan is a system of self-defense and a way of defending oneself. It is said that Sayukan can be used to defend yourself against multiple enemies even when they use weapons. Sayukan has strayed away from the memorization and rigidity of some traditional martial arts in favor of learning by concept. The idea is not to count on a series of memorized moves because the odds are high that something will go wrong. Sayukan is a reality-based self-defense system developed from Central Asian principles in combination with Ottoman-style strikes and grappling moves. Instead of memorizing many specific techniques, the Sayukan practitioner learns by strategy. Some of the core concepts of Sayukan are twisting your core, knowing the angle of attack, being aware of distance, and knowing when your opponent overextends, so you can use that to your advantage. Many martial artists begin their training in a traditional style, then move on to Sayukan to enhance their training. Whatever martial arts you are trained in, Sayukan can enhance your training. The word Sayukan stands for Savashinin Yolu Vekani. In English, it is pronounced the warrior path and blood. Sayukan focus more on strategy rather than a singular strict fighting technique. Behind this ideology, a practitioner would have an adaptive techniques, allowing for flexibility while fighting opponent, rather than a technique restricted to a realm of a particular style or rule. In Sayukan, there are a few objectives that the participant will accomplish in this martial arts. The first objective of Sayukan is to taught the participants about the application of the techniques and when to use it, rather than memorizing lots of techniques. Secondly, techniques should be natural reaction in application and should not have specific details. Furthermore, participants will be able to defend themselves and knock down their enemies using Sayukan. Other than that, participants are taught to be alert in their everyday life and defend themselves. Lastly, participants will have more confidence in themselves and feel more safe after learning Sayukan.
Turkish martial art Sayukan was founded by Nihat Yildiz. He was born in 1961, Salihi, Turkey. His martial arts started with Taekwondo in 1973, followed by Shaolin Kung Fu. His experience with areas used by the system restricted with rules and looked for a system using techniques more freely. He started Kyoshukin karate as a student of Grandmaster Ferhat Ossers in 1981. Mr. Ossers influenced him to further his studies and have real perspective of martial arts. He won the first place in 1981 till the 1982 Turkey Kyokushin Championship. He followed his teacher when Grandmaster Ossers joined Ashihara in 1986. When Mr. Ossers left active teaching, he felt absence of learning further and went to Japan in 1990. He spent 4 years in Japan focusing on Ashihara Karate. When he returned to Turkey, developed Ashihara Karate. April 1999, with its 5 students joined World Cup in Denmark and had one world champion to third place. This was the first in Ashihara Karate. He started Shoryuken 1990, developed self-defense strategies, more of an educational system, developing further some of Ashihara Karate's effective techniques and adding them to numerous techniques derived from Turkey martial culture. Further development of Shoryuken derived from Turkish martial culture, such as Hilal strategy used by Kagan Alparslan in Malazgirt War. In Shoryuken, strategy is more important than technique. The mentality behind this is techniques can be taught and used harshly but cannot alone bring success without a tried and tested strategy. He has 40 years of experience in martial arts. He has been in 16 countries for martial arts, which are European, such as Germany, Netherlands, or Yugoslavia, Italy, France, Belgium, Austria, and Denmark, and in the Far East countries like Japan, Korea, China, Bangkok, India, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong. The martial art is his lifestyle. His experience led him to realize a reform in martial arts. The result of this is Shoryuken. We hope that all martial art artists take its worth, because there are many benefits for martial artists in Shoryuken. Shoryuken is a reform in martial arts world and people who practice are reformists. Don't follow the age in martial arts from backward. Don't carry your system on your back with your individual talents and experience. Let Shoryuken to carry you on his back, because Shoryuken has strategy through mentality, doctrine, element of security, and insurance. And of course, you will be the one to make the decision.
There are several techniques in Shoryuken that relatable as karate. The first one is head kick. The second one is double kick. The third one is defense and triple kick. After that, defense and back attack. Next, high kick and back attack. Then 180-degree double kick. Beside that, double side kick. Shoryuken movement are more on aggression. This movement doesn't allow enemy to react. That is why Shoryuken also can be deadly. Sayokan have their own uniforms or known as aba. The uniform usually used in training and competition called elegant uniform. Elegant uniform have two categories, that is Batsik aba for Western and Toxic aba for Eastern. Sayokan also have ranks or they call san, referring to their uniform. For the beginner, they call it talute. For intermediate, they call it tayangum, and above it called tanyum. For expert uniform, they call edis tanyum. As for the yellow one, usually used by the judges. Another unique uniform called basagar uniform, or known as gok aba. Basagar uniform usually used for training and education under 18 years old. Here are some videos that show Sayokan uniform they use using training. These videos are taken from Sayokan Association. As we can see, Sayokan uniform are most likely karate uniform and taekwondo uniform.
Nihat Yigit is the founder of Sayokan martial art. He got the idea to develop this martial art was in 1999 in Turkey. Since 1999, Sayokan has become popular among Turkish people, and this is the progress of Sayokan among Turkish. Sayokan is the contemporary Turkish martial art developed by Nihat Yigit in 1999. Sayokan bases itself upon a realistic self-defense system. The martial art takes Osman style strikes and grappling move and merge it with Central Asian principle. The main focus of Shokan is to prepare and teach people to make the correct choice when it comes to an attack, and how to defend themselves against smaller people, large people, and from more than one attacker. This martial art does not focus on memorize move and as martial art does not focus on memorize move as there is no guarantee that something will or will not go wrong. When performing Sayokan, one focus not on techniques that have been memorized but focus on learning by strategy, which give a learner a better chance in succeeding rather than failing when using Sayokan in self-defense. Although Sayokan is taught in order to give people the knowledge and capability to defend themselves in an attack, like a lot of martial art, there are competitions in which people can prove their skills in the art of Sayokan. In competition, there are certain rules in which one must comply. Moves that are allowed are kicks and knees to the head. Moves that are not allowed under any circumstance and punches, elbows, and using one head to strike the face. If these rules are broken, you will be disqualified. In this martial art competition, each match consists of two people, as not to compete against multiple people. As with most martial art, the people in which one will be versing in determined by the color of their belt. There are three different competitions: Gankap, Kanurap, and Baturap. Now that we have gone through Sayokan in a competition sense, let's talk about it in self-defense. When used to its full extent, Sayokan can be very harmful when used against someone, which is why it should only be used in self-defense, unless used in competition. The main thing to remember when undergoing an attack is to be rational and be wary of what is going on and the way the attacker is moving. When focusing on how the attacker is moving, it allows for you to assess the situation and determine the best way to move in a way that is less harmful to you. Some of the techniques that can be used when undergoing an attack are twisting your core. assessing the angle of attack in order to defend yourself in the best possible way, and lastly, keeping an eye on the distance between you and the attacker, as not to mistakenly getting close enough for them to strike or render you defenseless. Last but not least, there are a wide variety of different martial arts that use Sayokan to further their training. Most martial arts typically use a traditional style of martial art to start off their training, and once are competent in the traditional style, they like to move on to Sayokan, which give a learner more knowledge and training in the line of self-defense. By practicing both a strategy martial art and a single focus martial art, it also gives a learner a balance in which they can focus on one martial art while also being strategic in their move. That's all from me. Thank you.